Welcome to the Live Intentional podcast. Here we will explore stories, ideas, and questions from our life with the hope to ignite you to live according to your values and beliefs.
On this podcast, we will share our visions from our past, present, and future.
Our hope is by us sharing our story, we can inspire you to live more intentional and make you think about new ways to get creative in your relationships.
We hope you will follow us on this journey. Hi everyone, welcome back to the Intentional Living Podcast. Today we're going to talk about being best friends. Who's your best friend?
You're my best friend. Who's your best
Aw,
friend?
You too.
So yeah, throughout our entire relationship, we have always considered ourselves best friends before anything else. And by becoming best friends, we have learned that we can trust on one another, lean on one another, also care and love for one another on a deeper level.
Being able to trust one another, it just means that we can talk to each other about anything without fear of judgment from the other person. And just that we're there through thick and thin and being able to open up to one another. We can also celebrate with each other instead of trying to outdo the other person. We just celebrate each other's accomplishments.
So yeah, learning to lean on each other can be hard sometimes. You have to give up your pride and trust that your partner will provide the assurance that you need. When times are tough, being able to open up with one another and knowing that your partner has your back gives you the mindset that you don't have to take on life by yourself and can count on one another to pick each other up.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like that's all part of it follows into being a team and having that teamwork also.
Yeah. And just because we kind of set out to do this when we were young and we were dating, it doesn't mean that you had to start then. You could start becoming best friends at any point in your relationship. And I think that it kind of strengthens the bond between you and your partner when you do that. Because like we just said, you can count on each other and you'll have each other's backs and you're on the same team when you kind of do that more,
Yeah.
I feel like.
Yeah, and they're like your partner for life.
Yeah.
So.
Some ways that we became best friends and how we kind of started this for us, being best friends, we come to each other first for the good and the bad things in our life.
Yeah, we enjoy spending our time together. So our free time, whether it's just at home or if we're going out somewhere or on a trip, we enjoy each other's company.
Yeah, and we like to experience life together, and we like to try new things together, and that kind of challenges us in ways that continues to challenge us in ways, I feel like, because something new could come up now that maybe not before, and now it challenges our bond together.
Yeah.
which is really cool when you start to do that.
Yeah, that's true. I think also the experiencing new things in life could also just be something beautiful, like a sunrise or sunset, and
Right.
having the other person
Or those
to
hikes that we
experience it
do
with.
and stuff,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
or
really
anything.
neat.
Or we go on a walk every day, and even that's just something that we get to experience with each
Yeah.
other. Like you said today, our little family walk with me, you, and Rhett. So it's even that, something that small kind of creates a bond between us, and
Yeah.
we do that every day. We can also confide in each other and know that we want the best for one another when giving advice or just listening. Having a listening ear, it's really important that you're not just there while your partner's talking. Try and really stay focused and listen to what they have to say, and engage in that conversation with them.
Yeah, and I think sometimes you're not always necessarily looking for advice. Maybe in a hard moment, you just want someone
to vent to,
there,
yeah.
to listen.
Yeah, actually, I forget who it was, but recently I saw somebody was before they have a conversation. I think it was on a podcast I was listening to actually, where he was before they have a conversation, like a real serious conversation, he always asks his wife, is this? Oh, it was Ben Shapiro actually. The dude.
Okay.
Yeah, he was before him and his wife have a conversation, he always goes, is this one where you want feedback or is this where I need to be the listener? And I thought, that's really cool because some conversations, like you said, maybe you just want an ear or someone to
Yeah.
listen to, and then other times, you want your partner's feedback, which is really important to know the difference between those types of conversations.
Definitely. And I feel like it can be hard sometimes because you kind of want to be that problem solver for the other person. So you jump right into being oh, okay, well, I can help you with this.
Right.
Maybe
You should do
give
this.
some suggestions. Yeah. And you're that at this moment, thank you, but that's not what I need right now.
Yeah. And sometimes, you just need someone to vent to. And once you say it out loud, maybe then you come up with a way to conquer it together or separate, I said, maybe that's just a listening moment and that helped that person, figure out how to conquer that,
Yeah.
So for me, some ways that I think even back then and today that we've became best friends is that the number one thing that I already mentioned kind of was that we're definitely on each other's teams when obstacles and outside stressors come against us. or against your relationship or your partner, they should know that you are there and on their team and that you are rooting for them.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's probably the biggest thing that we've developed throughout the years, is that like we always tell each other, we're on the same team, we're not against each other.
Yeah, even if something difficult comes up
Mhm.
or whatever it is, or if you're having like an argument or something, knowing that at the end of that argument, like you're not there like fighting against each other.
Right.
You're there to come
You're fighting
up
for
with
each other,
yeah,
you
with
know?
a solution together as
Exactly.
a team. Like you guys both want the same outcome.
Right. Another one I feel like that started early on was expressing interest in one another and each other's interests. Early in our relationship on dates, we took the time to kind of know each other and learn as much as we can about each other. And still to this day, when we go out, we talk about anything and everything. And whether it is an interest of both of ours or just one of ours, we always find a way to kind of make that conversation meaningful.
Yeah, definitely. Like when we go to visit like Washington D.C.
Yes, that was actually my example here.
Yeah, you're obviously history
Mhm.
major and I am not, but we definitely had like I feel like deep conversations
Yeah.
while we were there and visiting the museums.
Yeah, and you held your own too, and you ask questions. I mean, you're not the biggest history buff, but like when we're there, you get very interested, because
Yeah, I
how
like
can
to
you not,
learn.
and we would go out to dinner, and like, even after dinner we would just sit there and have a few drinks and just conversate on so much stuff, and like you could tell that, not that I know that that's not an interest to you, but like in that moment you felt so interested, and it made me feel good that you were just letting me spill all these facts,
Yeah.
and then you would like ask me questions and bring up your own opinions on stuff too, which
Yeah.
was really cool.
That's also the part of it that I like though as well, is like seeing how interested you were in it
Yeah.
and like just having you talk about it. I was like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah, and that also is another thing. Like when someone's so passionate about something, that can spark interest in someone. That probably
Yeah.
sparked so much interest in you that TC maybe would have not been the best time for you, but because of that, my interest in it, I feel like that made it like an awesome trip for you as well.
Yeah,
It just
definitely.
added to your experience.
Yeah.
Another one would just become more conscious of tendencies that threaten your relationship. Not only becoming aware of these or those tendencies are important, but being comfortable talking about them. You shouldn't feel that the other person will judge you or kind of, resent you for bringing things up like that. You should be able to talk in a safe space about those things and have a real conversation. And if it's upsetting or bothering, or whether it's good or bad, that conversation needs to be had, and you shouldn't feel so enclosed to having that conversation. That needs to be let out, and both of you need to sit down and have that real conversation about things.
Yeah, I think that's like part of like trusting each other and trusting each other with your emotions,
Right.
which I feel like can be hard in early
Yeah, definitely.
relationship, but
Yeah.
as you're together longer.
Yeah, and as you're getting to know each other, that's what's really hard, because
Yeah.
you don't know if you want to trust this person or if this is a lifetime thing. I feel like for us, maybe earlier on, we didn't realize that this could be a forever thing, and then once we started realizing it, I feel like that's when it kind of, we had those real conversations, and we were able to sit down about real talks and stuff like that, and what we wanted out of our life and our life together. And then on the flip side of that, you should be able to accept that feedback and be conscious of it and become active to try and change those tendencies. So, maybe it's something that really is hurtful to your partner or to even a friend or anybody
Mhm.
or even a family member. And, they tell you that, you're doing this so much and it's not good for you, or it's not good for us, and it's not good for our relationship or our friendship. But then you're just ignoring it. It's like that saying, in one ear and out the other, and you don't
Yeah.
really care. That's not really listening and taking that advice to heart. And, sometimes maybe their advice may not be the best situation for you right then and there, but, you have to work on it and try and adjust it around those people to kind of make that bond and that relationship stronger.
Yeah. Yeah, or if it's something that's really like threatening the relationship, and if it's something that you're not willing to work on, it's something that could really end
Yeah.
a relationship if the
Right.
other person's not willing to at least like listen to it, be conscious of it, and like have an action to change
Right,
it.
and try to at least, or
Yeah.
or like I said, even if it doesn't
effort.
change, show effort, and that you're keeping that tendency kind of locked away around that person, or trying to make it a better situation so that way that person isn't uncomfortable.
Yeah. I agree with that.
You want to talk about some of your things?
Sure. So even though we've been together for 13, almost 14 years next month, I feel like
Less than a month.
Yeah. I feel like we still continue to try and learn more about each other, which like you think after that long, you're like, you like know each other, but really like your likes change over time. Yep. So there's so much to learn. And if you're not asking those like early on questions, you know, in the beginning, you're asking all those like random questions to get to know each
What's
other.
your favorite color? What's your favorite movie? You know, there's simple questions.
Yeah. I feel like over time you don't really ask those, but they're kind of fun to ask after a while because things can change. So I feel like we do that a lot.
Which is really neat because, you know, being together for almost 14 years now, things have changed. And it's interesting to see, like, you know, I don't think either of our favorite colors have really changed, but, you know, like some of the deeper stuff, like, you know, probably have changed because we've grown. When we've grown, you know, we're older now. We've grown up, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Not even like the little simple things, but even like aspirations and goals,
and
all
goals
that stuff
and
changes
stuff like
over
that.
time.
Right.
So it's good to like make sure you're still on the same page and like check in with each other. Something fun we do on road trips is there's a game. Is there a name to it?
Which one? Because we play a few games on one.
I know. The one that you do like
the
your
alphabet.
Top, no. It was like the top like 5 things, and you picked like a topic.
Oh, and kind of had to guess what it was or something.
Yeah, you had to do like your top 5.
Yeah, I don't know. I saw that somewhere, and that this most recent road trip, I decided to steal that, and that actually got
really
us
fun.
through most of that whole trip. I feel like we played that
like
for 10 of the 12-hour drive.
Yeah.
No,
that was fun though. It's like you like pick like a random topic, and you kind of give your like top favorite 5.
Yeah, so it's like, it's the drafts. The drafts. We were doing the drafts. Yeah, that one. Okay. Yeah.
But like it's a fun game, but also you like kind of get to know
each
and that's
other
like kind of random things that you might not even think about asking.
Right.
But then like
we did the top 5 actors, top 5 movies.
Yeah, and like it can lead on to conversation too. So then after you're playing that, maybe you'd be like, oh, like why is that your top movie? Like what is the reason? Like so it's kind of cool. It's
and
like
there were also like some answers where you were like, oh man, that's a good one. Like I didn't think of that, and then it just kind of like sparks your memory as well.
Yeah, so that one was really fun also. So another thing we like to do, I feel like we don't like always do it, but I want to try and do it more like on a daily basis, but we do try to, is that we ask like the highs and the lows of the day, which is like kind of just like a nice check-in every day to like see how their day is, just seeing like what like maybe like a really exciting part of the day was, or even like just like something that was nice that happened, and then like maybe something that didn't go your way or something that's bothering you that day, but also like a way to kind of open it up and be able to like have a conversation if it's
and those can lead to the deeper conversations that we were talking about, and I think that we did that a little bit more when we weren't seeing each other as often.
Definitely.
Just so that we can kind of check in with each other, even if it had to have been through text, because you know we were passing each other. We definitely tried to do that more, I feel like, when we weren't, but I feel like we kind of got back into that more recently.
Yeah. I feel like we definitely did it when we weren't seeing each other as much, because at that point it was like something could like have upset you, and then you just go like a few days without seeing each other, and then it just like, and then it like builds, or you're like festering on it, and you're like, I just need to talk to them about it.
Yeah. And then there's no opportunity. So it was just a nice way to check in and kind of, you know, even if we had to put a pin in it, the conversation was ignited and it was started by bringing that up. And then the next time that we kind of hung out or were able to see each other, we would conversate about it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, definitely. And then something else would be like just make small moments, pivotal experiences for each other. So like before, Steven would like come home when he used to work outside the house.
Yeah.
He would come home with like flowers to surprise me with, which was really nice.
Right.
Something as small as like complimenting each other.
Yeah, we
or
talked
like,
about leaving the notes and stuff. Yeah.
Yep, leaving notes for each other, which is always like a little nice surprise. And then things like we said, like going on walks and just enjoying like the sunsets, or if we're up early enough for sunrise. Yeah. That's typically on a hiking trip.
Yeah, usually on trips we like to see sunrises in other states. I mean, we've seen some here when we stay overnight at the beaches.
Yeah.
But usually on trips we try and at least see one sunrise. And recently we started doing that last one where we kind of our daily gratitude. We try and come up with 1 to 3 things throughout the day that we're grateful for.
Yeah, I really like that, because that, like, the podcast name is a way of being intentional about your day and just kind of reflecting and what your gratitude is, what you're grateful for.
And I feel like during our busy days, like, it's nice to sit down and think about those gratitudes, because during the day you're not so focused on, wow, that was really great, or that was awesome. Like, I need to remember that. And now when you're sitting down, you're going back through your day, you can realize those opportunities that you had to experience, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a way of helping like the good outweigh the bad. Because say like you're
Right.
driving somewhere and there's another driver on the road that does something that like really
Upsets
you. Sometimes you can like really harp on that, I feel like. But really, when you look at the overall day, there's probably more good things than
Right.
bad. Whether it's small, like maybe someone was really kind to you in a grocery store, like
Right.
anything. So when you reflect on that, you're like, oh, okay, all right.
Yeah.
Like, shouldn't let those like little small moments like ruin
Yeah,
the
like
remainder of the
yesterday,
day.
my gratitude that I wrote in my journal for yesterday was like we just were going over Nana's to drop off her gift, and like we stayed there for hours just talking to them about like
Yeah.
I never heard that kind of stuff from them because I never had the opportunity to sit down just us four and like talk to them, but it was nice to like hear about their past and hear about when
Yeah,
they
like
were younger and
childhood
stuff. Yeah,
stories.
it was really neat.
Yeah, it was awesome.
So that was my gratitude for yesterday.
And then yeah, I feel like all of this together can just like relate back to making each other feel safe,
Mm-hmm.
right? When
Yep.
you're with each other. And really like none of it's possible to reach or to be able to do unless you really feel safe and comfortable with sharing these things with each
Yeah,
other.
and wanting to kind of grow together. Becoming best friends doesn't just mean like, hey, like we can do things together, we can have fun together, and
It
what?
sound like you're about to start singing this SpongeBob song.
Oh. No, not here. I'll save that for later when we get off the podcast. But no, but seriously, like, all this can't happen unless you really want it to, and you want to grow together and learn
Yeah.
from each other. And I think what was so easy is that I found you to be like, having conversations and deep conversations with you like really sparked my interest in you early on in our relationship, because like you were so smart and you had this great outlook of the world, and maybe I wasn't going through the best of time when I met you, and like you just sparked this like light in me that was like, well, the world is so good, and and you made me see things in a different light, which was really awesome. So it really has to happen between the two of you. It just can't be one of you pushing for that,
Yeah.
or you both have to climb that mountain at the same time, kind of.
Yeah, especially because like someone could have like guards up or something and you
Mhm.
can't, get through there without
Right.
them letting their guards down.
Right. So some ways that, we started and that you could kind of start growing that friendship is sharing in each other's interests and experiences like we talked about, trying out some new things together and grow your interests and experiences with each other. Like you weren't super into hiking, but you had an aspiration to do it.
Yeah.
And then, once you met me, we started traveling and started doing all that, and you fell in love with hiking and stuff. So something
Yeah.
like that where you both can share an interest in it, be each other's biggest fan and biggest cheerleader. I think that is really important. It's so small, but it's so important to kind of root for each other. Like when you were going through nursing school, I had to make sure I gave you what you needed, that space to study, that time alone to really push towards that, because I know that was something that you wanted. So even though it was kind of like a silent cheerleader, I wanted
Yeah.
you do the things that you need to do to kind of push that person to reach their goals, their
Yeah.
individual goals as well. Become the kind of friend that you would want. That's also really important, because like you wouldn't want to become friends with a bully or someone who's picking on you.
Yeah.
So why would you pick on your partner unless like I joke around with you a lot, obviously, because we've been together so long, but you know what I mean, like
Yeah, it's more of joking out of like a loving, not like
sometimes
no, not like an underlying like
like a little snarky,
demeaning or
right.
like yeah.
Right, yeah. And most importantly, have fun with each other. I mean, all of this is to create a friendship and grow that relationship. And I promise you, like, if you do have fun with each other and you do trying to become best friends,
Mhm.
over anything else, like we always tell people, like, we're best friends before anything else. And that just really grows our relationship, and having that realization that we're there for each other, and like I know I can come home and like if I had something bad throughout the day, I can
Yeah.
talk to you. Same thing with you. Like you just don't want to come home and stay silent and not have that connection, I feel like.
Yeah, I think it helps really like start that strong foundation too
Right.
to a relationship.
Yeah,
Excuse me.
definitely. Do you want to read the rest of these ones? So.
Sure. Other ways that you can start getting closer to your partner would be to accept each other for who you are. You don't want to like change the other person. They are who they are.
Right.
People can change little things over time. Like, I don't even know. Like, not putting a toilet seat down, like something like that. But like
Right.
to you at your deepest core, like that's not changing. That's who you are. And you
Right.
shouldn't want to change someone else. So accepting each other for who you are, making each other feel listened to and encouraged definitely just having like those hard conversations together, but also exciting conversations,
Yeah,
and just making
definitely.
sure the other person feels like you're there for them and
Right.
listening, not like you're preoccupied with something else while you're talking.
Yeah, like I said, that in the one ear out the other ear thing, like that, I feel like that can like spark a fight so easily
yeah.
because like especially if it's like a hard thing that they're talking to you about, like if you just don't look interested or you don't look focused, like oh
Yeah.
man, like I don't know, like
Yeah, it could have already been hard for like your other person to come to you and
Mhm.
talk about it, and then if you seem disinterested or like you're not fully there, like that definitely can, I
Yeah.
feel like, start an argument or just like cause you to shut down. Like you came to them trying to talk about this, and if the other person doesn't seem there, you're just like, okay, well, now I'm
yeah,
not talking about it.
exactly.
Allow each other to express themselves. Replace judgment and criticism with modest requests.
Yeah, that's a good one too because you don't want to judge each other, and the criticism can be there, but it needs to be positive criticism, and it needs to be more of, like it says, a request.
Yeah.
It's not that you need to do this right now, you need to change this right now. Like those conversations that we're talking about throughout this episode need to lead to that request. So the conversation is kind of the first step, and then that partner or whoever you're having that conversation with takes that as a request type of thing, like this is really hurting me type of thing.
Yeah.
And then that's
I think it's like
spark
all in the
interest.
delivery, because even something
Mhm.
like that could start an argument. But
Yeah.
I feel like if you're like, hey, like I don't know if you like realized it or noticed, but like this happened this day, or this, whatever the topic, whatever it is, and just say like, this is how it made me feel.
Right.
And then I feel like if you come from like that kind of
Yeah, or even coming
conversation
from like a
point with it.
relations point standpoint where you're like, I don't think that this is the best for our relationship.
Yeah.
That can kind of be a way of bringing it into it, because that kind of sounds like a request to kind of make the relationship better and not go so much towards that negative factor of what you want
Yeah.
to talk about.
Because otherwise it could feel like you're just like pinpointing each other and being
Right,
like,
and
you
blaming
did
each
this,
other.
like, yeah.
Right, and then that goes back to remembering, you guys are on the same team as well.
Exactly. Yeah, those are just like areas where I feel like it can cause like greater separation rather than you both coming to like a solution together.
Exactly.
Another important thing is also just giving each other space
Mhm.
when it's needed and comfortable,
Definitely.
which I feel like is important too, because even though you're on a team and you're best friends, like
Mhm.
everyone,
Needs
like,
their own time.
yeah.
I mean,
and then like, so you can also do your separate interests that you like too. You don't have to do every single thing together, but
Right.
important to
kind of
be
goes
like
into reading the room. If it's something like, hey, you seem like something's wrong, and they just don't want to talk about it, you don't keep pushing that person to talk about it. You kind
Yeah.
of give them the space, and when they're ready, they'll come and talk to you about it. I think that's a way better approach than keep poking at the bear
Yeah.
to let them talk about things.
That's true. When like you're going to make decisions,
Mhm.
making them knowing that they affect both of you at the same time. So kind of like
Yes.
making them with both of you in mind.
Yeah, I think that's really important too. I mean, maybe I think it's more important now because we're married.
Yeah.
And living together, so I feel like every decision that we make affects both of us mostly,
Yeah.
like whether it's job, whether it's what do we want to eat, as small as what do we
Yeah.
want to eat, like, so maybe not as so much in dating, but if the dating is serious and stuff, yeah, most decisions will affect both of you, and whether it affects you individually, maybe it will have some effect on your partner as well. So that's really big, is to just always remember that, and always remember how maybe bring that conversation up.
Yeah. Yeah. If it is like a decision and you feel strongly one way or another, bringing it to your partner and
Yeah.
having like a full conversation about it and like weighing out the pros and cons
for
together,
sure.
maybe, and seeing like where your solution lies.
Yeah, and then the last thing that we just wanted to bring up here is, remember just to live, laugh, and learn with each other, have fun, adventure with each other. And I think the biggest thing to kind of put that into perspective is to grow in each other's interests and develop interests together, for sure, like we were saying. Like, I
Yeah.
think that is really key to kind of not, if you're not interested in absolutely anything that your partner does or your friends do or whatever, the main thing is that you should get interests that both you share. So
Yeah,
the
yeah,
hiking
like, have
situation,
some-
or something that you both can share. Like, we enjoy as small as watching TV or watching, like, doing shows together and things
Yeah.
like that. Or, like the hiking situation. Like, sharing experiences and sharing interests is probably the most strengthening bonding experience you can have.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like, and then like just within those, especially like hiking or going somewhere, like you said before, can bring up like obstacles, and I feel like obstacles strengthen relationship too.
Definitely. Yeah, and challenges
So-
too. Yep. So So that is all that we have for you this week. We can't wait to talk to you guys next week, and we would both just like to thank you so much for listening. And if you could, just leave us a review on wherever you're listening to by either just tapping on the stars or leaving us a written review if you could. Also, follow us on Instagram and Twitter for weekly questions and content that you won't see or hear on our podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk to you guys next week.
See ya!